I'm here with Svend to talk about BAEST's latest record, Colossal, out August 15th on Century Media Records. It's a pleasure to see you again, and it's a pleasure to talk about this new record that because last time I saw you, I only had heard the singles, but now I've listened to the whole album.
Yes. What do you think?
Fuck, I really like it, man. I really like this new direction that you guys are going with. Uh, you know, how can I put it this way to you? It's still heavy. It's still the band, but the more Motorhead rock and roll riff driven sound, it's super appealing.
Thank you. That's what we were hoping for because it had to go that way. We found out because we love it apparently. So it's good to hear that you like it. I
Yeah,
hope people will feel the same.
I find at times if I go back to even the EP that you guys released or the album before that, the songs when you're making albums where the music is super heavy and super brutal, sometimes it's really hard for a listener to go and sit through an entire, regardless of how much you like the songs and regardless of how much you like the record or the band. But it's really hard to sit through an album like that multiple times over a long period of time because your
Yes.
ears start to become desensitized to it. And then next thing you know, it's just heaviness all over.
Yeah.
But when you have a more guitar riff driven sound, or at least driven bass point, in which every single song starts with that direction, it's a lot more appealing to the ears. You see the forest or the trees a lot better from the rest of the forest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's some definitely some dynamics going on in that whole record. And that's why we wanted to keep, Colossus as a track because it's also kind of a like you eat the wasabi when you have sushi to clean up the palate, So you had Stormbringer in the beginning, and then you had some more rock and roll, and then you get hit with the hammer, and then back to some more rock and roll, and then you have the progressive one in Loathe and Love,
Mhm.
which goes into what Light the Beacons and Depraved World, that whole Iron Maiden finale of the album. So I think we wanted it to be an interesting album that that the listener would not know what was going to happen next.
Yeah, it's a more dynamic album than any of the previous records you guys released because, like I said, when you have an album that's very heavy and very consistently heavy, it starts to feel very linear all the way through. It's harder for you as a listener to see the peaks and valleys that the album could have. And when you go see a live performance, like I've seen you guys live now, I saw you guys in Toronto, the performance is very dynamic. So if you can take that performance, that style into the studio and create a record that sounds like the way you guys perform, I think it's perfect. And this album, I really feel like you guys captured that.
That's awesome because we do everything ourselves. We meet every Monday and create the songs ourselves, and we're the same guys for 10 years. So that whole live thing and that way of doing our songs is what we've made it to. And we also record without a click. We record live, playing at the same time to also bring that live feel in there because that's what we love and that's what we feel we're a live band. So the record should also reflect that. And I think we hit it on this one with the dynamic feel and with the it's also fun. It's a fun and happy album, and we're a fun and happy band, so that makes sense.
Before we talk more about the record, I just want to tell you this. I did an interview yesterday with Jan of Volbeat, and I asked him about the Danish metal scene. Like it's flourishing with great bands. There's this resurgence of great metal bands throughout Denmark, and he said, "Yeah, Beast is one of the greatest bands coming out of Denmark right now." So you mentioned you guys like first. Uh,
Wow.
once I post that interview live, I'll cut that clip and I'll tag you guys. But he mentioned you guys like that was the first band that he mentioned that he really felt like you guys are going to be one of these bands for this younger generation to really carry that Danish flag of metal forward. Obviously, there's been bands of the past like King Diamond and so on. But when I ask him about the newer bands, who's he excited to hear? He mentioned you guys.
That's insane. I'm gonna be happy to tell the guys after this interview. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool that he mentioned you guys. So I wanted to tell you that. So this rock and roll sound, who brought the idea to the group? On Mondays when you guys are sitting down, who was the genius that said, you know what, guys, we need some more rock and roll riffs?
I think it was happening during when we recorded Justitia. We have a song called Ecclesia where there's a hard rock part in the end of it, and we really found as okay, this is fun to play. Like this, especially this part of the song, everyone is really having a good time. So, do we have any kinds of riffs like this, or don't we? And then we started, Lessa and I, just trying to do Aussie style riffs and bringing them in, trying to play them all together and seeing what it sounded like. And it was tough from the beginning because when you have to bring, Bark at the Moon into Dawn of the Angry, it's not gonna mix. But we had to make it work together, and yeah, so it was everyone's idea, kind of. It wasn't planned. It wasn't like we have to do this because it's gonna be awesome. It just happened every time we played a riff like that, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is fun. I think we have to do a song with this one, even though it's not a death metal riff at all." And then we tried it out, and I think it works. I really like the sound of it, and we feel that it's fresh, and we feel that it's new, and the best part of it is that it just happened spontaneously. And to a Messi was a great force in helping us out with because it's scary also. Doing something different
Yeah, because
is
that's
very
what I was going to ask you, because you also don't know how the fans are going to perceive the change in and the sound change.
and but Tua, he's the man, and he was like, if you like it and if you're having fun, fuck the rest. Do it like that because that's what it's all about. And he really helped us out with that thing. And yeah, but it's still scary. But then also it's also we also want to provoke a little bit. That's why Stormbringer starts as it does. Like the whole record starts with the AC/DC riff, and people are. You were actually one of the first ones not to say, I thought they sent me the wrong album uh, because of the intro.
No,
But
because we talked about when you guys were in Toronto, so you guys kind of give me an idea of what to expect going in. So maybe I was a little bit more prepared when I sat down to listen to the record.
yeah,
And the thing that I was most curious about was how Simon's vocals are going to work with this sound. And I thought they worked tremendously well because he kind of keeps the spirit of death metal alive, even though the songs may not have, all of them may not have death metal riffs. And I thought that was really cool. And I didn't think it was going to, I was like, how is he going to fit his voice in this sound? But did you guys thought about that as well?
that was a challenge. But I think we've always encouraged Simon to sound a lot like Mikael Åkerfeldt because everyone loves him. And Simon does that perfectly. He has the deepest vocals ever. Um, but then we started to think maybe Simon, because he does all kinds of crazy sounds all the time, just when he's walking around, he sounds like a bird or a fucking horse or something. And and he can do anything. So maybe we just told him, what about trying this out? And then Simon began himself doing all kinds of crazy things. So we ended up just being like, do what you feel you should on this riff, and then he picks something up and he does it. And yeah, sometimes he does something that's a little too crazy, and then Simon, are you sure about that one? And then he does it right, but super quick, super awesome, and it's there's no tricks. It's just Simon being crazy Simon. Um,
And I think the way it all works out is because you guys have a real rock and roll attitude. When I look at you guys on stage, you guys always look to me more like a punk rock band than you did a death metal band.
yes,
So this shift in sound, I mean, it's not a complete shift, but this shift in sound to me it's just a logical step for you guys because it doesn't you and the reason I say this is because there's a lot of bands that were thrash metal bands or death metal bands and then became metalcore bands because that's the sound that was popular, that's selling, and they're trying to follow the trend. I didn't get that vibe here. I got that this was more you guys following your heart, not necessarily following any trend whatsoever.
I think Depraved World, that riff that the whole song evolves around, is from when Lasse was 14 years old. So it's a full circle kind of moment. And I remember the day we recorded that song, um, Moody told us that he had a Facebook post that said "Infinite Dreams" 15 years ago that day, and that riff was called "Infinite Dreams." So it was, you know, the stuff you do as a kid is true, and then we get to bring it into BAEST. The chorus from "Imp of the Perverse" is from when I was 15, and I just had it lying around for 15 years, and then suddenly it fit into the music because now BAEST is there's no more rules in BAEST. You can bring whatever you like, whatever influence, whatever crazy idea. And in the past, it's been more strict. Like we have to
Mhm.
keep it traditional death metal. We have to do it like this. And this time it was like, we don't even use the same guitars on all the songs. We don't even use the same tones because we were in studio 5 or 6 times. But if it fits the song and if it sounds cool, let's go. And that's way more fun. And I think it really brings out all the stuff that we like. There's a big Phil Collins drum fill in Colossus, and
Mhm.
you know we're Genesis fans too, so it's fun to bring all that stuff in, and it is not a hype thing, and it's not a trend thing. It's just true based, I think.
Yeah, and that begs the question. Having fun is one thing, but how much work was it to have fun? Because it would have been a lot easier for you guys to just repeat the formula of the previous records and just release another album like that.
It would have been more work to do it like that because then you have to force it and you have to redo stuff you've already done. And there's always I've been working on riffs today, and there's going to be a lot of like Morbid Angel, Dawn of the Angry style stuff on the next record, but they're going to be followed by an what do you, white snake riff, and we're going to make it work. There's also going to be strict death metal songs, but it wasn't that much work. It was so much fun, tongue in cheek here. This riff is forbidden to be played in a bass song, so we're gonna play it, and it's gonna be awesome. So yeah.
What was your favorite, if you had to pick one riff from this record that stands out in your mind, maybe favorite one to play or just the way it came together? Do you have a favorite one?
Mm, there's the second riff in Misfortunate Son was written the day we recorded it because we had a demo of it and it was okay. I thought something was missing, and then I had this teeny tiny 80s riff, and it's nothing special. And then I knew Lasse, he's very good with chords, and I just told him, Lasse, if I do this, can you do something that matches it but goes in a different tonal direction? And that riff ended up, it's so simple, nothing crazy on the drums, no vocals, just simple riffs, and it sounds so
Big?
huge in a way. And
Yeah.
when we play that live, we played that in Toronto too. It just kind of zooms everything into that groove for us because we're also about groove, and that riff really grooves. Um, yeah, and there's a lot. All of Lasse's riffs in Depraved World, they're so hard to play, but they're so fun. Um,
You mentioned the word groove. This album is very groovy.
it is very groovy, but that we also had to take some years to find out that we also like the Lars Ulrich drumming. We don't have to do the double bass and blasting all the time. We want to bring it back to just regular rock drums because it leaves so much bass and it makes it sound big.
Yeah, it gives that life experience to it. The sound travels in a different direction. It just fills in the room a lot more, I find.
Yeah, we find that too, and yeah, and all of it is a favorite because it's all new to us. It's really new to us to sound that way that record sounds, and so we don't have any songs we don't want to play right now. So it's hard to choose because we also want to play the older songs. But
But this gives you
that's
a good
luxury.
problem. You have a lot to mix in, the new material,
Yeah.
old material, so everybody gets a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Meat Hook Massacre is so much more fun to play when you know you have a rock song coming up for the next one because that whole energy shifts, and I think it brings the live show a lot of dynamics because people don't know what to expect, and I think they party out a little more when you surprise them.
I'll tell you one thing from watching you guys in Toronto, talking to a few people at the show. Everybody was blown away by your performance. The energy, the sound, the presence. Man, you guys like came out like rock stars and it was like a rock show. Like it was so much fun. Like you just didn't want it to end. Is it as much fun for you on stage as it is for us watching and experiencing it?
I think we have more fun actually because we get to yell at each other and say shitty stuff, and there's so many because we've been doing it for so long and we're a pretty tight live band, so we can start to tease each other. So whenever I go over to Lasse and say something, you can be sure that I'm trying to fuck him up in some way or say something, then he has to laugh and maybe do a mistake. And Simon does so many shitty things on stage too. When he farts, it's horrible, and then you have to. But that's we have so much fun, and we always have a lot of fun. Luckily, that's why we can keep on doing it.
Simon's farts. Well, I didn't have that one on my list of questions to ask you about. Maybe it's a dietary issue for him.
I think so. I think so.
Oh my God. That is some crazy shit. Over the years, you obviously, the band itself has become, a band that other bands starting to look up to. The fact that Volbeat is mentioning you guys, in my opinion, that's huge. Uh, but who did you look up to growing up? Did you have someone that you wanted to emulate as a guitar player?
Um, there's always James Hetfield and the whole down picking thing. But for me, it's always been AC/DC and that groove, that shuffle kind of thing they've got going. And, just grooving but being tight. Dimebag Daryl, of course. A big one for me has always been the Vuk from Decapitated because his playing is fluent, groovy, it looks
Super groovy.
effortless. Man, that guy is the best guitarist in the world. And, you know, there's everyone, Jakey Lee, Zach Wild, all of those kind of guys. But actually, Orm, that sings on Misfortunate Sunday, had a band called By the Patient, and that their last record was a really big gathering point for us in BAEST. That we were like, we have to make a band, we have to do something like this because it's awesome. So it's very nice for us to have them on the record as friends. That's a big thing for BAEST.
Yeah, I think there are two things I want to pick up from that. One is about the Decapitated. I think it's no surprise that the new Machine Head album is definitely not as strong as the previous Machine Head album because the impact that he had on the previous one and now not being on this one is totally noticeable. The grooviness of his guitar sound is just outstanding, in my opinion.
It is incredible. Yeah, but as a guitar player, when you watch him play, he does stuff with his hands that he could be, very way more what's it called, conservative, like machine tight stuff. He sounds like that, but he's all over the place with his hands. It's amazing.
Now, for a
So
guy who doesn't play guitar, explain me a little bit about what you mentioned earlier, the downpicking of James Edfield, because I talked to a lot of guys and everybody talks about it as being such a difficult technique and how good he is at it. Can you explain to me as a non-guitar player how influential his style has been on someone like you?
it's been it has been the biggest influence because his way of chugging and where to put the chugging in the riffs and have riffs that are only chugging is incredible. And you can hear that in Volbeat, you can hear that in Machine Head, you can hear that in Decapitated, you can hear that in every heavy metal band. And that whole chugging thing, I think he really perfected it, so to say. And it's just tight, sounds huge, looks cool. You know, it's a that's been big for everyone.
So is that the next step for you guys to go on tour with Metallica, opening up for them?
Oh, that could be so sick. I really hope so. I really now our friends in Neckbreaker got to open for Slayer this Sunday, and they got to meet them and everything. And that it's possible. It can happen if you're lucky. And
Stranger things that have happened. By the way, Volbeat also mentioned Neckbreaker as another great band coming out of Denmark. So those guys really know what's going on in Denmark. They're paying attention to you guys. And it's nice to see someone like that noticing the bands that are bringing or carrying, continuing to carry the metal flag. You guys have the album coming out August 15th. I know you just tour in North America, but dude, it was such a short set.
yes,
Please tell me that you guys are coming back.
we're trying to come back. We're trying to find the right tour. We're trying to get on the tour. It's tough, but we're going to tour Europe a lot, and that doesn't help you at all. But
No, but I'm going to be in Denmark. I don't know if you guys are playing any shows while I'm there, but I'm going to be in Denmark to see Orbit Culture with Geria. They're playing in Copenhagen back-to-back nights in November.
in November, I think we're going to be uh, out of the country in November, sadly. But we don't do many Danish shows. The Danish shows we do are pretty big, so we have to wait a bit with doing them.
Sad that I'm traveling again all the way there and not seeing you guys. Uh,
It's not good.
No, it's not good. We need to align our calendars a lot better. I'm going to be there for 5 days. I get to see three shows because I also get to see Nail to Obscurity. They're playing as well in Copenhagen, so I get to go to two Orbit Culture shows and then Nail to Obscurity. And I was hoping that maybe you guys would be playing a show somewhere around that I could drive to or whatever. Because I want to hear more of you guys. Like the set you guys played in Toronto, 30 minutes. It felt like
That's
just a
short.
teaser.
Yeah, it is short. We would have loved to play a little more, but we couldn't. But next
Everybody
time,
would have loved that.
I, I hope so. Next time, hopefully, we're ready to go whenever the offer arrives. Um, so let's hope for that.
Do you think this album is going to open some doors that hadn't been open up until this point?
I think so, but that's because I'm starting to see the reviews, and the reviews are better than any of the other albums have ever had. And if that continues, I guess it will open some doors. It will make some stuff happen. Uh, I really hope so, as we don't know what to do else than to try our best with the records and then do our best at the live shows.
This is the best album you guys have ever done. Hands down. I mean, it's not even close. Dude, it's not even close. It's just
I
so
feel the same
good
way.
because it didn't feel like a complete departure from the past, but it does sound way more appealing as an album. The album doesn't get boring. The album is just exciting. It's just I love the sound. I love the riffage and Simon's vocals on this record. He
Yes,
goes with every like it's like there's a consistency to his vocals, but he changes little nuances on a track by track basis to go with the mood and the flow of the song, which I thought was really cool. Not trying to fit the song into his style, but rather adapt to what the song had to offer. And I thought that was key.
I think that's very true, and I'm very happy to have a singer like Simon who can just do stuff. We just ask him, and then he does it. He never has to try it out. So he's amazing.
The downside is the farts, but you got to take the good with the bad.
Yes, exactly.
Pretty soon, you guys are gonna come on stage with gas masks. Uh, you know, you never know,
Yeah,
man.
we have to do something about it.
Yeah, you guys got to do something about it. Sven, thank you very much for your time, man. It's a pleasure to see you, a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on this colossal record of yours.
Thank
Uh,
you.
it's definitely going to be one of my favorite albums of the year. I just really love listening to this record. I think you guys nailed it. Just nailed it.
Thank you so much, man. That's really awesome to hear. I'm glad.
Take care, man. All the best.
All the best. Cheers.